Oh. Vicky's not gonna see me there.
And Lauren is gonna join us via Zoom.
And Phoebe's not gonna be. Who is?
We have a quorum.
So we just need 3 for a quorum?
Yeah, because we have 5. So we just need 3.
Okay.
But David Connor, they come.
I know that I sent it back to you because it was really nothing to do with the design, but the little tiny house and stuff.
But do we have to go through?
I had
We got twice, so we have to go through the site plan check,
consideration.
yeah, which, see, what the way it works is. We have to check the. Say that everything's there. Yeah, I can work on it, or we can say, we have 30 days to, to work on it again, or we could just.
David Tom will be here.
Okay, great.
I just saw him walking by.
Oh. Did you print out copies of checklists? Maybe we could grab those.
Yeah, so then we should either, work on it or not, because
Yeah.
last time we
There's-
had.
Several of them, you can pass them out to whoever.
David. Really? Well, you want to have so old and so. Nope. So in case you want to keep the box score. So we can decide. Whether they would actually rule, it's not here to say. We could just continue to this meeting if we think we're going to.
Well, it seems like we might be able to.
Yeah, we might be able to. Keep the visible. Yeah. I mean, this doesn't seem like. What was that?
I'll put those in my budget.
Really wouldn't.
Yeah. Right.
Just let me know what you like.
If you get an espresso machine as well.
I didn't think I needed one, and then my wife and I decided that for Christmas, we didn't really need anything
Reading.
special, so we
Yeah,
bought
I
one.
did too.
All there.
And a little DeLonghi that actually has a special little thing you plug into it that has the milk in it, and it does.
Okay,
the whole everything.
so you,
It does, it goes into the beans, it does. And I've decided it's a really nice thing to have.
so it is a little bit past 7. Would it be okay with folks if we go ahead and start our meeting?
Please.
Looks like we've got 2 fairly interesting projects to review. The first item on our agenda is site plan review for 651 River Road. Sometime, no, I guess it's breakfast on the Connecticut.
Home on the
Home on the Connecticut.
And Lauren, the owner is up.
And actually, Mr. Chair, as a point of order, do you need to designate an alternate?
Do we need to, we certainly are missing a member.
Yep.
I guess it'd be better to.
Yeah, it would be
designate
better
an
to
alternate
have
for this
5.
hearing.
But note that I would just designate him as an alternate for this.
For this
hearing,
one,
the
yeah.
Hearing.
Obviously, I have to. sit
We're gonna
on the
ask
side of
Rich
it.
to recuse himself for the next,
It's too late. I already will.
yeah. So yes, I'll designate Rich as an alternate, Rich the alternate as a member for the first hearing. So we have a site plan review checklist. But I think before we go through that, it would probably be worthwhile to ask Lauren to just briefly detail what he's planning on doing here. So the floor is yours, Lauren.
Okay, so the map that you have is the exact same map that was approved for site plan review a few months ago. So there's not a single change on that. The it was just part of the requirement. So you're getting the same map that you've already approved. So what we're proposing to do is the in the in the inn there is an area that's an exercise room, and we're proposing to add a shower to the existing bathroom and adding a sink, which would enable it to be used as a studio. And the second part of the project would be adding a wall so that I can have a bedroom for my kids.
So are you adding one unit? Just one more unit, is that correct?
Is adding one unit, and then it's technically adding one bedroom. The intent of the bedroom is my kids will be using it, but um, my idea here was I was bringing it here and it would be approved as a bedroom so that it's listed as a bedroom. And when it goes to sell, it's listed as a bedroom just to have all of the ducks in a row.
So Lauren, in theory, you could rent it if you wanted to, right?
It doesn't have a bathroom, so it'd be, I guess I could. Um, it's not a terribly desirable room to rent, but technically, yes, I think it could.
Right.
Well, and maybe one of the questions that'll come up is, you have shown, I think, a new septic system or a new leach field. I'm not sure what's being replaced, but maybe you could just chat a little bit about what that entails and, what the status of the approval for that is.
And actually, Mike Carbone is here with us tonight, so,
Oh, great.
he can, he's a septic designer. So,
Go for it, Mike.
Yep, if it's all right, I'll
Sure.
give a brief. So, my name is Mike Carbonell. I'm a septic system designer located out of Littleton, New Hampshire, but tend to work all over the Connecticut River Valley, working on both residential and commercial systems. We recently designed a septic system for another portion of Lauren's property, which is down a little bit closer to the river. And then I believe Lauren and I had a conversation about redesigning a system for the upper house, which is, home on the river. I forget the terminology. That system that is currently there is somewhat dated, and Lauren wanted to add one bedroom to the overall gallon per day usage. So the way to put it. So he contracted with me to do this design. This particular design is over 2,500 gallons per day, which is technically the limit of my license. When we break those limits, we then work with a civil engineer who's also a certified or licensed septic designer. So I worked with an engineer out of Littleton by the name of Phil Bolio. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, but he's an engineer that works all over the state, focusing on wetlands and septic design specialty stuff. So anyway, we put this design together to represent the sizing. I believe it's a total of 19 bedrooms. Does that sound right, Lauren? I'm not reading it in front of me, but
I don't recall exactly.
I can look it up on my phone, but I think that's pretty accurate.
And so this new septic system will incorporate the tiny house pad that we discussed at the previous site plan review and the adjustments we're making. So all of the proposed changes will all be incorporated with this septic system.
And you're just adding one bedroom because you're just adding a shower and a kitchen to the other bedroom. So it's only.
I think it's to incorporate the tiny house pad, correct, Lauren?
Well, we added more than one bedroom. So we added enough for the tiny house pad and the shower and the sink and the potential if in the future we wanted to do another uh, make another unit at some point, we added capacity for that. So the capacity is sufficient is more than sufficient for what is proposed, with the idea that in the future we may be able to convert something else or do a little bit more. But I wanted to have a little bit of flexibility. So we just overbuilt it just a little bit. But it meets all of the requirements for the proposed use.
And so where is that is that just in the conceptual design or has a design been submitted to the state?
It's already been, or I have approved it and it's, next step is to go to the state.
Okay. And while we're talking about that, are you comfortable with the number of bedrooms, tiny homes?
Yep.
Extra bedroom that he's adding here and,
Yes, I'm comfortable with the size.
okay. All right,
And it is a total of 19 bedrooms now.
okay,
From an acreage and lot loading standpoint, way more than enough land to sustain what they'd like to do.
okay. Well, great. I guess we should go through the site plan review checklist. And well, I guess let's go through that, and we can determine whether there are any deficiencies at this point. So, David, have you had a chance to look at this? We've got the names and addresses of the abutters.
Absolutely.
And the names of the engineer, this gentleman, and then the other engineer that is designing it.
Well, the other engineer, I don't see his name on the plan, so he would not get a notice.
Oh, okay.
It would be whoever stamped the plans, which has Mike's name on it.
Okay. Variance from the ZBA, what do we?
I believe those are all not applicable. All three of them.
I think I read that he has solicited input from the fire department.
Fire and police.
I have not received any from either department.
That's from the state.
Yeah, this is state.
Yeah, those are the building permit from the fire marshal's office.
Right.
So so he submitted a request, we haven't.
Yeah, we haven't received it, nor have I received anything from either one saying they don't wish to comment. So I don't know.
So we would write incomplete then at this point?
At this point, I don't see it as a completed item.
The application says that it needs to be submitted, and it was submitted to them with adequate time to review.
Okay. I think, yeah, we'll have some discussion on whether or not we can rule without input from them, but thank you for that. So that would be the fire department and the police department. And the highway department.
I think the rest of those would all be not applicable.
Right.
Unless, Dave, you think that the select board wants to comment.
Conservation Commission, no, and the school district, not applicable. Narrative summary of the proposal.
I think we had that.
Okay,
Yeah, somebody, yeah, page 3.
page 3.
Yeah,
Okay, days of operation. Need for utilities. The footprint is the same. Other information we have not requested other.
I think we have B too.
What's that now?
I think we have B.
Days of operation? Yeah,
Yeah, I think he talked about that. There's no employees.
right.
It's not,
The need for utility services. There is no need.
Well, he talks about electrical work and plumbing.
Okay. Lot size and building footprint,
That's all there.
that's indicated. Other information requested by us. Well, we don't know. I would say NA. Traffic and parking plan.
He's talked about
that, yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. Um. Traffic flows on adjacent, on connecting roads. I know we
I
talked
think he
about,
talked about 31 trips a day.
I mean, I think he said we would not change.
Right. I think
Yeah.
it's 31 trips a day.
Right. At the maximum hourly volume would be 31 cars in and out or something.
so are we going to say that, it's not applicable, or are we gonna say that that has been submitted?
Well, if you look at page 5, there is a whole paragraph on traffic
Yeah.
and parking, so,
Okay,
um,
let's say yes.
Yeah.
The parking plan for users. That's
More-
also there.
More
Yeah,
than
that's
sufficient.
Yeah.
Um. The snow plowing is good, done.
Unchanged.
Plan.
Yeah,
and if you recall last time, he uses a snow blower on the back of the tractor, and
Yeah.
snow storage is not a problem.
and safe pedestrian circulation.
The walks. All there.
Okay. Page 3. Site plan general map. Reference to a perimeter boundary survey, did he address that? I remember last time, I think we
You waived that last time.
may have waived it.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we waive it again. Do we have to vote on that, or?
Yes, why don't you just mark it off as a waive, but then,
Okay.
vote for it when.
Okay.
And yeah.
vote
Tax
for the
map
waivers.
and lot numbers.
Yep.
Location plan is on there.
Yep.
North is on there. Zoning districts.
There's a note, number 2, that everything is in the rural district.
Okay. Seal of the firm preparing the site
And
plan.
he had done it himself, so there's no seal.
Okay, so it's drawing by Lauren Weimar. Is indicated on the plan. Town of Lyme Conservation Districts as defined by Lyme zoning ordinance, including any existing streams or wetlands, etc.
He talks about the conservation district. Doesn't go into, well. There's the river.
All of the work outside 200 feet. Shoreline buffers.
Right, it's for the state. Yeah. And it's all out of the shoreline district for the town. I believe you did, you waived it,
On the last
on the
one.
last one because there was no new,
Okay.
the reason for the waiving was because there was no new, construction. And in this case, other than the septic system, which I've already approved. That doesn't need to go through the board.
Where, by the way, where is the septic system being located?
If you look, in the packet,
Where they.
on page 9. Here's the house, here's the drive that comes in, there's an open area. Just to the south of the drive where it comes in, and that's where the leach field will be.
So it's not where it is now.
Yes, it's partly, I guess.
It's more or less in the exact same footprint.
Yeah.
Is it these two black squares?
Yeah.
Yeah, here, it's,
Okay,
that's the leach field.
all right. Location, area, dimension of all existing and proposed buildings, driveways. I think that is shown,
Yes, it is.
existing and proposed utilities
Yeah, those were put on the original
that
plan.
was put on. The water supply,
Yeah, that shows the well.
as well as the water supply for fire protection.
I don't think there is any further water supply other than what the fire department brings in.
There's this existing fire suppression
I
system.
thought he had do you have a cistern or something there for fire protection?
The last 48
Yes, we
hours.
do.
Is that shown on the
Yeah,
plan?
it is.
So
Okay.
It's right next to the leach field.
Right.
Down the
Sorry.
driveway.
You can't pump out of the river, right?
that'd be,
Is it too low?
you'd have trouble getting it up that hill without a very large pump.
Right. I just was checking.
Okay.
Otherwise it'd be all set.
So that's shown, the sewage disposal system is shown. Electrical lines and equipment, was shown. Exterior lighting and all signs, especially, lighted signs. I think that's what those yellow dots
Exterior
are.
lighting, right?
Yeah.
Exterior lighting.
Lauren, are any of your lights changing? I know we had some discussion about, downlit lighting as opposed to lighting that can be.
Please proceed to your bilang.
No, there's nothing related to lighting in this project at all.
Okay. Phone cable and communication. I think that was shown. Did anybody see that?
Yeah, on the main plan, the red lines are your, where the electrical comes in.
Okay,
So the phone and cable lines are with the electrical lines.
the fuel storage,
Yeah, that's all shown by the,
existing propane tanks. Buried ones. There is no air conditioning, cooling towers. Fire protection and response plan to be approved by the planning board and fire chief. What is that?
that would be a plan that the fire chief has come up with to respond to any type of emergency.
Has he
No,
provided that?
Right, so we need that. No, that's a no.
So I guess that's a no.
Yeah.
Rights of way and travel surface of all fronting streets. And all being,
that may be a waiver just because it's a very long drive in.
Shame on the small.
If you look at the inset, it does show, oh, that's.
the 50-foot right of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Landscaping plan, including buffering plans. I think we might have waived that the
I
last
believe
time.
so. Or it's not applicable because there's no new construction.
Yeah. Drainage and erosion control. Uh,
Again, I think this was one that you waived last time because of the no new construction.
uh-huh. So the only there is new construction on the leach field.
But it's not under this board's jurisdiction to,
It's the state, so, yeah.
yeah, it's not something that has to go through the board for an approval.
Is that a level area or what is
It's a
that?
fairly level area.
Okay. All right. So we would waive that then?
I believe so.
Existing and proposed method of handling water runoff. It's existing, so we would waive that.
Yeah.
Direction of flow of the runoff.
I say, I think all of these would fall under that same waiver that it's. You know, you're,
Yep. Okay, so all of Roman numeral 6, we could waive if we so choose.
Yeah.
Roman numeral 7, building layout plans, shape, size, dimensions.
Yeah, the scale, I think we. We let him do one to
We
40.
waived that before. I would suggest we waive it again.
Yeah.
Concept plans and elevations, there, we would waive that because there are no new proposed structures. Copies of required federal, state and local permits.
he has all the state fire marshal office permits. We don't have the state, oh, well, the septic again, because it's not really under the board's jurisdiction. I wouldn't include the septic, the final septic approval,
Okay,
but that will come in.
That'll be a condition.
will that be a condition of our site plan approval?
You can, yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
So are there any, so we're saying we have the state ones, federal ones don't apply, there are no federal ones?
No, there's no federal, the only federal ones that could possibly apply would be doing anything down in the river.
Yeah.
Since he's not,
And then local permits,
other
other than us?
than us,
Right.
Okay. And then, additional information, is there any additional information that we would deem necessary to evaluate the proposal? I can't think of any. So we would waive that. So. What's our pleasure? I guess we want to then, at this point, do we want to vote on the waivers, allowing waivers, and then have some discussion about the project, and then vote on the project if we have enough information or not? Reminding people that we are missing information from the fire department and the police department.
Yeah, I think we have to get that before we have to approve it.
I would feel more comfortable having a response from the fire and police departments, whether it's no response, they choose not to respond or something.
Lauren, can you say how long it's been, how long they've had to provide a response?
Um,
How long did you ask them?
Let me look, David, I CC David, so it's been maybe a month or more. Let me look. Eight, five, okay, April 23rd, April 23rd. So it's been
A month.
30 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I would suggest that we ask David to follow up with them to see,
Okay,
uh, whether they have any comments. But is there any further discussion on the checklist? Otherwise, I'd accept a motion to accept the checklist as we've noted, with the incomplete on the fire department and police department, and waivers on Roman numeral 5A, 5G, 5S, all of Roman numeral 6, all of Roman numeral 7, and Roman numeral 9.
And I'll move that.
Okay.
8 too,
What's that?
and 8 also.
8, we have the state response.
So that's a no.
Oh, yeah, so what are we doing on 8? We're waiting for
say that again?
You know, 8,
federal, state, and local approvals. We decided, we've got the state fire marshal's response.
Right, so the only thing that's outstanding is the approval of the septic for the state. Which you said you might want to make that a condition
Yeah,
of approval.
okay.
So I would second David's motion that we have a
Okay.
complete application, but for the.
The waivers.
From
David, we
the,
have no local permits, right? That we need then.
No, there's other than
But
the
they're not-
permit I would prove.
Yeah, the fire department and the highway isn't a permit then,
Right,
right?
Okay, so we have a motion to approve our review of the checklist with the common, with the waivers noted. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, none. So questions, comments on
Well,
what
can I
we
ask-
want to do? Yeah, sure.
there are 3 things that are missing. Are you saying that the application is complete with those, even though those 3 things are missing, or are you saying the application is incomplete? That's really what you're voting to.
We're saying the application is incomplete.
I don't think it is. The application's complete.
Well, we have not received input from the fire and police departments.
That's not part of the application, though.
It's part of the site plan
It-
review.
It's part of our site plan review.
So you
The-
could.
The application requirements state that I need to give it to them for their review. That was done, so that's complete.
That's.
I understand what you're saying.
You could, accept it then as complete and then deny the application because you don't have all the information, or continue the application to another date and time, until that information is received.
Yeah, that would
Right.
be the thing to do.
Or could we make it a condition?
You could also make it a condition of approval but is that going to, you're not gonna see it again. You know, typically a condition is something that I'm going to ensure happens, but you're not
Yeah.
going to have that information to evaluate the
Right,
application.
yeah, I don't think we want it. What's that?
Do we need that? I mean, what's overwhelmingly likely to occur here is David's gonna reach out to Sean and to
Yeah,
Aaron, and they're gonna go, nah, I don't care about that. And if that's what happens, then we don't need to see this again, do we?
I mean, I
Yeah, I think we can.
I think we're boxing ourselves in if for some reason they have comments because,
I know Aaron has some issues with the property itself, and he's brought it to the select board's attention. You weren't at the meeting.
Was it the
And
last one?
it was the last one, and will probably be brought up again next meeting.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
so I don't know, what Aaron's, I can't say what Aaron's opinion is going to be.
So maybe what we're saying is this is a complete application. And that we can't move forward until we find out.
we're wishing to obtain the input from the fire and police departments.
So we would continue our consideration until the next meeting, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that it would not. It would not be a very extensive concern if there are any concerns, but, and therefore I would like to put this on our next meeting agenda. If we were to rule in that manner.
So the other question then is, when we look at the vote for the application, are you going to consider it complete or incomplete?
I think it's complete. I think Lauren's point is correct, that he's done everything the application said. We've not heard from those departments and their input may be important.
Yeah. So, okay,
So we can rule it complete, we just can't
Is
vote.
it conditional on the septic approval? Is that the
Yeah.
the way we?
Yeah, or you can, it's kind of premature to do this now if you're not going to vote for the approval, but what you would do is say that the approval is conditional on the septic
Right.
being completed.
Oh, I see. So since we're not,
But
we'll
since you're
have
not
to take that up next time.
right, you would take that up next time, right?
Yep, got it.
so do we need to take a vote on this? Or
What
what?
I'd like you to do is revote on whether the application is
Complete.
complete or incomplete.
I'll move to accept the application as complete, even though we're not deciding.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Discussion?
No.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Does a 2-week delay mess you up in a significant way, or,
No, that's fine.
okay?
so are there any other,
So are there other questions
Questions
that we
that-
should ask of Lauren?
yeah,
Other concerns that might come up? I don't have any.
I don't think I do either. You good?
Yeah, I get.
You have a question?
Well, I was just gonna say that I think maybe one of the conditions should be that these are transient, that they're. You know, we put in there that these are. rented as
Yeah, that would be
transient.
discussion for,
That's for the next time,
yeah, for the next time.
right? So we won't have to talk about that now.
Okay,
So what I would need now is a vote to continue to 7 PM on June 12th.
okay, I'll accept the motion to continue this for, when was that, June,
June 12th at 7 PM.
June 12th at 7
I'll
p.m.
move that.
Okay,
So moved.
second by Nat, all those in favor, aye, okay. Very good.
So Lauren, I will also talk to the fire chief and the police chief and try to get a response out of them.
Sounds good.
I'm sure they can do it within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if it's a response that I don't have a response, but
Right.
I mean, it would be nice to have him write a 2 sentence letter if, saying I have no concerns or whatever he's gonna write.
Would it be possible for a condition to be that this would be approved if letters come back from the police department and the fire department stating that they have no concerns?
I think the board, needs to finish, their discussions on this, so it'd have to continue to they can't really set conditions because they haven't approved anything. You can only set a condition on an approval.
So here's where I'm going. So police department, I can't imagine where there would be any issue there. The fire department, the state fire marshal, they already approved all of this. I mean, they looked at all the plans. So Aaron goes to them and Aaron looks to them at what they think is appropriate, and they've said it was appropriate. So we had a recent fire marshal inspection and he was on that inspection, and there's going to be things to fix. There's always things to fix here and there. But I think for this particular project, the state fire marshal has already determined that this is an acceptable thing. They've looked at the fire system, they looked at the alarm system, they looked at the plumbing, they looked at the electrical, they granted the permit. They said yes to everything. So
I don't think, anything that the fire chief, if he is bringing up other issues that don't pertain to this plan, unless they're really relevant to the plan, the board would have to look at them and say, well, he may have some other issue, but it's not really relevant to this plan because we know that everything is, the plan itself has passed through the fire marshal's office. So if there are other issues of, things that need to be fixed, then that's really not part of this review.
Exactly. So that's why I'm wondering if we could have a conditional approval just saying, hey, as long as the fire chief and the police chief come back and say no substantial concerns with this particular project, then we're done. We don't have to meet again next month.
Oh, the board, well, okay, I guess that would be one way of dealing with it.
I feel uncomfortable, putting the pressure on any of the departments that, well, we've already approved it, so you should too. I think we need to get their input, and I apologize that, that information hasn't come to us, but, we don't have it, and I think that's where we're going. But, yeah, we'll make sure that we have something for next.
Yeah, I will follow up with the two chiefs.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you, Lauren, and I'm sorry we weren't able to get you an approval tonight.
All right. I appreciate your time. Thanks all.
Yep,
I guess
Right.
that's my cue to move over there,
you're on the other side of the fence.
on the side of the table, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to talk about that, because we have to have these things, I think we do have to do it. Training.
You're still here? I'm still here.
We have to.
I'm hoping to retire here.
It's good.
In years.
Should have been all year.
Yeah.
They have a call,
My girl still be doing well.
Well, yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
But we did the right thing.
Yeah.
We have to meet next.
Yeah. Okay, so our next application. Is major subdivision approval for creation of
Here's
oh,
checklist, the ever popular checklist.
well, there's only two of them.
Oh,
So let me,
here's a whole more stack of it.
for you. So let me start this again. So we have, an application for the condominium subdivision of the 3 cabins on the post pond side of Orford Road, as submitted by Loch Lodge, Inc. And I think we have representatives, a representative from Horizons. And you, sir?
Philip Hastings, the attorney for Loch Lodge.
Okay. And then we have Rich Brown and
I'm Liz Ryan Cole.
Liz Ryan Cole.
We haven't seen Phil for a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah.
I know.
So I guess we need to go through the checklist first.
Yep.
But as we did in the last application, maybe we could just have a brief overview of what you are proposing, either Rich or.
I'll take the lead because I think that would be useful because a lot of these things are gonna be not applicable on the checklist. So I think it'd be useful to give you the context of what we're doing.
Sure.
So, as I'm sure you know, there are 3 existing cabins located on, their own parcel of land between Route 10 and Post Pond. They've been there for years. They are part of the rental, program for Loch Lodge. The proposal here is, to simply convert them to a condominium form of ownership, so that they could be conveyed as separate condominium units. There are no changes proposed to the site. There are no changes proposed to the buildings themselves. There are no changes proposed to the existing use. Everything will remain exactly the same. It's merely a condo conversion, which under the state's condominium law, is technically a subdivision, but under the Condominium Act, this board has limited authority, it has review authority over that, but it has no authority to deny a simple change in use. We went through the same process, Tim will remember, David remembers, in, I think it was 2019, for the cabins on the other side of the road. We presented a condominium conversion plan as we've done here, shows the units, identifies the units. We had a set of condominium documents that were vetted by the town council at the time. We have modeled not only this plan, but also the condominium documents on what this board saw in 2019. It's essentially the same set of documents. It's just for the 3 cabins on the west side of Route 10. So that's the gist of our proposal, and we're happy to answer any questions as you go through the checklist and afterwards.
So just a point of clarification, so each cabin has its own septic system, right?
Actually,
It's a part of the,
No.
it's a community septic system, so they pump
It's
up
on
the
the-
hill.
On the, oh, they all, okay. Cause
They
I
have
look
their own
at,
tanks.
they have their own, yeah, all right. So from the
So that
tanks,
leach
it's all
field
pumped
doesn't
in.
operate in. The one leach field that's there, just off. the
There's
beach.
no leach field there's no active leach field on the lake side.
Oh, okay, there's a
Right on site.
box. I guess I assumed it was a leach field.
Well, this one says it's
It
approximate
says approximate
leach field.
Yeah, but it's no longer,
with a water service going to it. That sounds kind of yucky.
Yeah, right, approximate leach field, right. So that's not functional anymore.
Where are we looking?
This is on the unit
It's just
detail.
between the forced main and the shed. On the way
Okay.
to the Lakefield unit.
yeah,
Yeah, that was an existing condition note that was previous, yeah, it's not. That's not a leach field. The
right,
leach field's up the hill.
right, it's all pumped under the road, under Route 10
Correct.
and up there, yeah, okay. When the hydrant. That comes, that 2-inch water main, that just comes under the road, and then there's a hydrant there for those 3 cabins, right?
Yeah, there's hydrant symbol there.
The hydrant isn't because the main water tees off before the hydrant.
I think it's a blow-off hydrant, it's not a,
Um,
not like a fire hydrant.
I asked that you would actually go through the
Yeah.
checklist before
Yeah.
Okay,
any,
so, but to be clear, the condo association that you're creating is a different condo association than the.
Yeah, it's gonna be its own condominium association
Okay.
just for these 3.
For these three, okay.
Yep.
All right, well, let's tackle this checklist. Names and addresses of the abutters with map and lot number.
yes.
Names and business addresses of the engineer, architect, land
Yep.
surveyor, or other consultants. So this is actually being proposed by. Well, we have a land surveyor's stamp. Is Andrew Nadu the same under Horizons?
He's Verizon's engineering employee, yeah.
Okay. 10 copies of the plans?
Yep.
Topo map,
Yep, if you look at it has all the topology.
yeah. Conservation district map.
Look,
It's all in the world.
well, that's
That's,
the zoning district. You look at the smaller.
Yeah.
Maps, so those are also,
Okay,
um,
scale no smaller than 100 scale. I think we need to waive that.
Yeah.
Because that's not been. It is smaller than 100 scale.
and why would you waive? I just need to, in the notes, why?
This seems sufficient.
Well, I'd also say you're not, no new construction is another,
Okay.
right,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would, when we have discussions on it, I was unclear, I couldn't quite read this, but, it's here. I think this, yeah, given no new construction. Complete boundaries and area of the parcel proposed.
you know, got that.
Well, I did notice that, one of the points is a calculated corner. The south western
Down here.
corner, yeah. If you look at the scale there, that's his calculated corner. I guess
Because it's
that could
along
be,
the shore of the lake, so
yeah,
that boundary technically varies as with the lake.
okay. We can certainly have discussion on that. I guess there is a survey map.
Yeah.
So that's a yes. Location of the zoning district boundaries. An area of each lot in each district if there's properties in more than one district.
That I don't,
It's all the rural.
it's all in the rural, and it just may need a note to.
Is there a note on there already or not?
I didn't see one.
Okay.
What do you?
Just something that tells them that, where what zoning district is. It's all within the rural, so instead of having it on the map, in the general notes, you can have a note.
Look at note 16. There's bottom.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
rural zoning district, here it is.
I missed that, and I've read the other districts.
It's fine print.
Lyme Conservation District boundaries and acreages.
I believe that this has the.
It's certainly showing the steep slope.
Yeah, I don't see the actual.
The flood and shoreline districts are not
It doesn't, and it doesn't,
shown.
um.
So
I mean, it's so small. I don't know if we need the acres.
Yeah,
he did this exhibit A. Yeah, that shows them, but it doesn't actually tell us how many acres are in each of those.
If they're so small, I don't know if we can be.
Well, they're pretty large. I mean, all.
The purpose for having those numbers is if you're calculating lot
Right.
coverage, since there is no new. Construction,
We could waive that.
you could waive that
Yeah.
because at least, they have the map.
So I'd suggest,
Waive the acreage.
yeah,
Yeah.
soil types, including legend and location of.
On the
I
second
think that's there.
map, there's a, up in the upper.
Yep, so that's good. Surface water drainage ditches and swales.
Um. It does show, well, postponed is definitely the surface water that it shows, the topology, I think, shows you where the drainage is.
There's wetland delineation.
And there's wetland delineation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So are there no culverts on that driveway? Going in?
On not on the part. There's a culvert on the far south end, I believe. Up here where the wetlands, which isn't shown on this plan,
Where's the driveway? I miss.
It's this shaded area.
Yeah.
Well, it's a right of way, but I think the dotted area. The dotted area is the actual
Driveway.
surface.
Yeah, because it just says access into the easement.
What are we gonna do on that?
Have that in the records for the same place.
Well, I don't know, boy, there's no new construction, but it's not gonna change anything, right?
Yeah, I guess. At this point. I would be willing to waive it on the grounds that there's no new construction. There may be some discussion further on, but, in terms of. Having this. I'd be willing to waive it. Does that seem appropriate?
Yes, yes.
Um. If lot size to average, that's not applicable.
That's not applicable.
Site survey map. Um. Does this site, size meet the, requirements
Yeah,
for
it
Grafton
does.
County? Okay, that's a yes. Scale no smaller than 1 inch equals 100. We've got 1 inch equals 20, so that's good.
Yep.
Signed by a licensed surveyor from New Hampshire, that's done. Complete boundaries and area of the parcels, North Point bar scale. Dates of any revisions, looks like we've got all that.
Yep.
Existing and proposed, street right-of-way lines.
That's, Route 10 is it?
Yep. Existing and proposed lot lines, angles, dimensions. Lot areas in square feet or acres. I thought I saw. Something does it actually?
Loch Line Water.
Oh, yeah.
5.17 acres.
Yep, we got that.
Yeah, I just had a question though, on the other maps, it says 4.72 acres. We need, which.
Yeah, huh. 4.72 acres, assessor's map. Is one of these pulling a tax map acreage and one of these pulling an actual acreage?
I think the exhibits, I know that the exhibits were from the last time that we did this, which I think, we hadn't completed the full survey, so this is the correct acreage on the stamped plan,
So 5.17,
correct,
yeah,
5.17.
right, okay.
So. Maybe that should be a comment that get corrected, at some point, but for the purposes of. Completing the checklist, we're gonna say it's good.
Yeah.
Location, existing and proposed easements. I'm only aware of one easement,
Which would be the Santos.
which would be the driveway easement.
Right.
Location of existing and proposed parks, open space. And significant natural and human made features. I think that's done.
Yep.
Location of existing and proposed utilities, wells, septic, parking areas. Stormwater lines, drainage structures and drainage ways. That's done. Location of zoning district boundaries. An area of each lot in each district,
I think it's repeated on this list. I'm not quite sure why, but
yeah.
but it is.
We've talked about that.
Yep.
Name, address, map, lot number of every abutting.
Yep, that shows on. The,
Yeah,
Okay. Site plan, location map. Yes, that's done. All surface water, within 200 feet, that's done. Proposed setbacks according to Article 5.
If you look at, there's a triangle in the that I believe is the setback.
Are we talking about the unit detail blow up, or where are we
Well,
talking
or
about?
was it in there? No, it's the main map at the top.
Yeah.
And it may be marked on, I can read the. Yeah, it's not in the legend.
But it's the dash line?
I believe it's the dash, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that, at least that
This
appeared to
line
me
right
as
here.
We talking about
It's a
shoreline
tie
protection
course, it's a tie course.
Tide course is a connecting point between these two on the shoreline, so they do a tie between them, because they don't
Oh, yeah.
define the shoreline.
So this,
Oh, I see, so they used it twice.
Goes from here.
so it looks like there's something that's about almost 100 feet, 75 to 100 feet back from Route 10 that runs parallel with Route 10. What is that line?
That's would be I believe,
That's the
that's
front,
the
that's the
setback
75-foot front setback.
front setback, and then
Okay,
on the other side,
is that what we require? It's 75 feet or something?
yeah, 75 feet from the
Okay,
edge of the right of way, and then 35 feet from the property line. The only thing I would ask is that it gets marked in the legend, just so it's because it's unmarked on.
but it's 35 feet?
From the property line,
Yeah, side,
from the side,
side and
rear,
back.
Oh, from the side, but what about the front?
75 feet from the
Oh.
road right of way, or
Okay,
the edge of the road right of way.
okay. That's done then.
Like I said, though, I would like to note that it's not, there's nothing in there that shows exactly what it is, to
Okay.
either have it a legend or marked on the map.
Yeah, it's marked a butter, isn't it? On the legend.
It's a different line.
That's a
right?
different-
He's right, it's not. It's a, they're all a little bit similar, they're should dash lines, but
Yeah,
they're a little bit.
When it goes into black and white, the differentiation doesn't always show up. Identification of complete watershed area within which the property is located.
Provided an exhibit for that, there's a separate sheet.
those things.
I don't think we have that.
No, we don't have that.
Well,
Yeah, we only have these
not
three.
making the packet,
I don't think it made it into the packet.
I it to you now, but it's basically a delineation of the watershed that contributes to this parcel.
And again, the only reason you need that is if there are buildings.
Yeah,
I think a lot of these things are.
Do we want to waive this, or do we want to include this as part of the application?
I think we can waive it. If there's,
I think it could be waived as it's,
The people that got notices of this, well, no, they don't get copies of the application.
no, they would come and see me, and nobody has
Uh-huh.
come to see me. So,
I would say we should waive it
yeah,
because there's no new construction.
right.
Final plat after planning board approval, okay,
that will have to come.
that'll have to come later. Provide a worksheet to show the lot size of each proposed lot. I think we're waiving that or not.
There's no.
Right, so I would consider it waived because it's a condominium conversion.
Right.
Traffic and access. An analysis of the traffic to be generated by the proposed subdivision, including direct and indirect volume.
I would,
Nothing's really changing.
right, I would say waive this because there'll be no change in traffic. It's still going to be used for rental units for.
I guess I have a question on that. I don't see any parking in here. I don't see any addressing of snow issues. And I'm just wondering, as this becomes condominiumized and potentially used all year, are we happy with this? People parking vehicles on this lot?
Yeah, there's existing parking, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's, I think
Where,
it's just
where
not
is the existing parking? It's not shown.
Well, they could, but they part next to the proposal.
I think somewhere in here it says,
And it's already plowed, because it's plowed to get to the Sanchez's house.
right, I think somewhere in here it says, parking is shown on the plan, but it's not.
There's a parking pull off by Balsam Cabin.
Right.
It's fairly informal, but there's
Unit 2, I can see there's maybe one spot there.
unit number 2, yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
But,
That's right. For the other two, they park across the street.
right, and
Oh, really? Yeah.
to the extent that that's a zoning requirement, this is grandfathered, non-conforming. And again, we're not proposing any changes. If a year-round use was deemed a change in use by the town, presumably we would need to come back to the board for a site plan
Right,
approval. But we're not seeking that now, and I'm not sure even that would constitute a change in use, but
right,
well, I'm not. I guess what we're looking at is, a question as to whether, whether there needs to be an analysis for the traffic. And I'm bringing up just the question of, where is the parking?
I think you have parking for Balsam in the unit 2 right next to it.
Right,
The other two, could have put a note in the general note saying that parking for those is at the lodge parking lot across the
and
street.
they just walk
Yeah.
across the road, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think Phil's right, if it ever needed to be plowed in the winter, which it, I guess doesn't now, but then that would be a change and they have to come back and. that
well,
would-
no, I mean, we're giving them approval if, once they condominiumize it, we can't tell them they can't use it in the winter.
Yeah, no, it would be,
No, but it would be a change of use.
No,
Is
it
it,
isn't.
I'm not sure I would consider it a change in use. I'd have to,
Well, only if they have to plow, I mean,
right, what I'm suggesting is whatever the use is now, the fact that we're converting it to a condominium isn't a change in
Isn't
use in
change,
and of
right.
itself.
right,
If there's
Right.
some condition that changes in the future, it may trigger a site plan
right,
review. But the conversion itself, which is what we're before the board now, doesn't result in a change of the use.
right.
Right, but I think as we're reviewing this, we want to make sure that parking is addressed. I believe
Well,
yeah, it is, but I think,
that would be part of our
but I think,
purview.
Rich, it is addressed now,
I think,
right? But then if they, as Phil said, if.
Well, it's
if
not
in the
addressed
future-
right now in the application,
right, I think that's
Well, then we
if,
can just have
but
it-
we'll be
Right.
talking
but
about
I think,
that.
you could add a note for those other two cabins,
right,
Park
saying
across the road.
parking's.
right.
Yeah, that's fine, and we can also include that in the condominium documents.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
Is to provide for
Right.
easement.
Yeah.
Right over
And
there.
then down the road, if that changed, then they might have to come back.
So we're saying we're gonna waive that because it's not a change of use, is that what we're doing?
Yes, but you're going to ask for a note to,
Right,
Right.
you know,
I mean, it's actually according to the condominium documents, that space is outside of the common space of that balsam unit. So it's common.
So it's common, yes, right, you're correct, the parking space for balsam is common to all three units.
I don't know if it's big enough
Right.
to meet the requirement. It
Right.
would be at least one car,
yeah.
maybe 1.25 or something.
You need enough for
Yeah,
three
a
or four.
quarter car.
Car and motorcycle.
Yeah, right.
There are in fact.
But if they all park there, you need like four, there's four places.
It's possible.
It's two, yeah.
No, there's next to the house.
So,
And then along
Oh,
here.
that's right.
And then
Provide
there's
any-
It's all together.
Four spots altogether.
so provide any local or state permits, including driveway permits.
the driveway is existing and would not, I don't believe needs a state. They only ask for it if there's a change of use.
Uh-huh.
And since there's not a change of use, I don't believe the state would ask for a new driveway permit.
So we're saying
It's,
waive it for no
or
change
it's
of
not
use.
applicable.
Not-
States.
Right.
Sewage disposal, all proposed sewage disposal plans in detail, including all computations. That has not been provided.
I know the plan for this is, there is a new septic field. At the toe of the slope on the other,
Uh-huh,
other side, and that this is all going to pump up
yeah,
to that one.
It's already connected, so this
So-
was already approved by the state and the town. For a community septic for these cabins, so we're not changing any of that, they're connected to an existing community system.
okay.
Same thing
So-
with water supply.
So that's not, well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's not part of the condominium. So it's another association that links them
The
somehow.
right to hook into those systems, both water and sewer, are part of the condominium documents, so there are, the rights are pertinent to the condominium.
So. So we're waiving that?
Say yes.
Well, it's not part, I
Right,
mean,
it's not
they
part of
haven't,
this
it
application.
hasn't been submitted as a part of this plan, so, as this application, so.
I mean, we have a copy of the plan from the last time,
Uh-huh,
but I would say waive it because it's connected to an existing
Yeah.
community system, so there's no change
Which
in,
is approved by
right,
the state.
yep.
in addition to locating the existing septic system and submitting a replacement field must be identified.
Yeah, this one I would waive just because it's for all lots with existing residences and these are not residences.
Right.
And again, I would waive the next one.
Okay. And we're waiving that because,
Because it's already connected to an existing system, so there are no new, systems being added. And so the soil test really, there's no reason to have test pits because it's already connected, they're already connected to a system.
Okay. Proposed water supply plans.
It shows all the water lines coming from an existing.
That's waiving. Public water systems, systems which serve more than 25 people for 60 days or more.
This is a public water system. It's
Yeah.
approved as a public water system.
Does it have to have a water system operator too?
Yes.
Um,
So we're saying we're waiving it because it's already connected?
well, you're asking, the requirement is to have a statement of acceptance. Or 2 copies of statement of acceptance by the system management, but you're the system management. I'm not sure how to.
I mean, this is typically for a new subdivision, right?
Right.
You're creating a new
Yeah.
water system. In this scenario, it's an existing.
Yeah, I think waive it because it's connected to an existing system.
Okay, so I'll play some of my cards here. I'm concerned about this and from the standpoint that there is no, I don't see the connection. I don't see where that becomes either part of I don't see how it's addressed in the condo agreement that is part of the package. Whether it's common area or how it's addressed. So I want to be able to bring that up in our discussions.
Give me a minute though.
Yeah. Surface water runoff.
I think this, this whole section, could be waived because again, we're talking about an existing, buildings, existing, driveways. There's no new construction.
Yep. I'm good with that. So that would be all of Roman numeral 7. Preservation of significant natural historic features, open space and farmland. I think the same thing that's existing.
Yeah.
Description and analysis of solid waste to be generated by the proposed subdivision. And plan for management of waste. That's a good question. Is that part of our application? I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either.
What is
But,
it?
how are you dealing with,
Trash.
trash from?
Oh, trash.
The staff come and pick it up and take it to the dumpster and then we take it with all the other stuff to the recycling center.
So there's no trash and recycling facility in the plan that you have right now. And basically have a dumpster on the other side of the road and trash is collected by staff and brought across.
So it seems like that's, is that made a condition of approval or something? I mean,
Or do you want, again, on the general notes, just to say trash is collected by staff?
I think if they were to introduce a trash facility on this parcel, they'd have to come back to you for a site plan review.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get. Just again, under the general notes saying trash collected by,
So we're talking about, waiving this at this point?
I would say. If you're agreeable to add it as a note, then, and if you want it as a note. Then you wouldn't waive it because it would, you just say note, or you to approve, sign off on this plan, a condition
Right,
of that note being present.
yeah.
The note would be in the application.
It'd be
or
under the
in-
general notes on the plan.
Yeah, just,
And it would just say there's no
It would just say that the trash is
on
collected,
site.
or the trash is collected by staff.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, what would you say? Casella comes and picks it up?
Well, that could be, typically what, that would be something, um.
You would locate a dumpster on the site plan.
Yeah,
right,
and say,
But most house, you don't have a dumpster, you put it in your house.
right, but this, if it was a subdivision, is there is there a plan in place to have people come pick up the trash? Is it that everyone takes care of it on their own? That's just the question, that's how is what's the plan for dealing with it?
Yeah,
And like I say, the great way to address it is in the general notes, say,
right.
staff picks up the trash and.
Yeah, you could just say we don't dump it in the pond. That would be fun.
Right.
only the stuff that sinks.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there are no garages, I mean, typically I would think you would see a dumpster location or there'd be some reference that it was just taken care of individually, but, so on that one, David, what are you suggesting that we're gonna,
My suggestion would be under the general notes to add one more note that just says. Staff picks up the trash,
right,
Take it across the street.
And- takes it, and disposes, properly disposes of it.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
that would cover.
so we saying,
And
no or yes, or,
I would just say there's a no, but.
we'll add a note,
Conditional upon adding a note to the general notes.
yeah.
conditional note.
And just to note that in the condo documents, there's two provisions that deal with trash. In section 3.7, one says that the unit owners are responsible for keeping their units in attractive and clean condition and free of trash and debris. And in the common area, the association is responsible for removing trash in the common area. Free of clean and debris. So there are provisions in the condominium documents that they provide for trash removal.
Yeah, so the condominium document is an exhibit here, right?
Yes,
Not part of the application.
We did submit it, and the way this board handled it with the other condominium across the road is it was a condition of approval that town council review and sign off on the condominium documents. I would expect you to see it.
But we're sort of working with the general notes as being our application, so that's what that's
Yeah.
the point of my question.
Yeah.
Police protection.
I think, both police and fire protection, or fire safety, can be waived because there's no change.
Change.
It's existing as it is. There's no. Not adding buildings, not increasing the usage, it's just changing, really just changing the ownership. So I don't see how, that this is any type of change to what's already there.
I would venture that if it's gonna be condominiumized and other parties are gonna live in it, that they may attempt to wanna live in it during the winter time. I don't know whether that's
It's not zoned for single family
right,
residence, it's zoned
it's
as
for transients,
accommodations.
right,
That use will remain the same.
until insulation's put in and,
That doesn't change the zone.
Yep, it's
Right.
the only time I would, if I find out that somebody is establishing residency and trying to,
right,
say this is where I live, then that's a violation of the zoning.
yeah,
But, right now, somebody can stay in them anytime during the year. There's no restriction
right.
on that. Other than being awful cold in the wintertime. Um,
But could we reasonably anticipate that use might change?
it could, again, and it could for all the other cabins on the other side in the other condominium.
Right,
Right,
Um,
yeah, but the real key is whether it becomes a residence or not.
but even
Yeah.
at that, is that going to change the police and fire response? If there's somebody there living full-time, then I would say yes, but that's not, that they're not. That's not the use on the lot, it's just
yeah.
lodging and accommodations.
Well, I mean, if people are constantly going out on the ice and getting themselves in trouble in the wintertime, that might be a concern.
Well, the Sanchez's are there to help them.
Yeah.
And the Browns too.
And that's right.
So, was a letter requested or not?
I don't,
No, we've treated this as not applicable because we're not changing any use or building any new buildings or making, and there's no. Merely converting these units to a condominium have no effect on the use, so we treated this as not applicable.
To me, it doesn't quite sound right.
I happen to agree with Bill that,
If somebody's buying this place,
But
they're gonna wanna use it.
But they're limited by the zoning ordinance, which right now only allows lodging accommodations.
Right.
As David said, if somebody establishes it as a resident, which is highly speculative, it would be right now a zoning violation, which the Board of Selectmen could enforce. It's not for this board to speculate about what somebody may use the property in the future. As a result of a mere change of the ownership structure.
Can it be rented?
yes, that's.
That's
Yes,
the
yes,
intent, I
for
think.
lodging accommodations, and that's the way the system. The way the system works for the existing cabins on the other side, and I believe it will work the same here, is they're part of a rental pool. So somebody owns the cabin, which gives them some preferred rights to use those cabins at certain times of the year. And a share of the revenue that's derived from renting those to third parties. So the only change is right now, it's Loch Lodge, Inc. is renting those units out and people are using them. What will change is the particular unit will be owned by somebody else, but operated through Loch Lodge through this rental program. Again, no change in the ultimate use, it's just it's an economic arrangement, that's slightly different.
But are the other units all winterized?
None,
In fact, none of them are
No. So there's not really much happening in the winter.
Today.
In that season. And the difference would be that if this was owned by another party, they could winterize it, and then they could rent it 365 days of the year in small
Chunks of.
chunks of
And
time.
they could do that on the existing cabin condominium too.
But they're not winter.
But they could be,
Right,
there's nothing stopping them from being winterized.
So
okay,
Phil, hypothetically,
so it's not really any different.
let's say somebody bought one. And they winterized it, and then they had, one of their kids was at Dartmouth. So the kid wanted to live there. He wouldn't necessarily have residency, but he could live there all for 9 months, right?
I'm
I'm
not
just
sure if
asking, I don't
that
know.
would qualify as a lodging accommodation.
Yeah, yeah, I just wondered,
Yeah, I would,
I think that's an interesting question.
yeah.
But it would be hard to detect.
it would be very hard to detect.
But if they wanted to put a kid in the school or they wanted to vote here, that's what would trigger residency,
Register the
right?
car, if they were looking to get mail delivered to that unit, those things I would probably find out about.
Is there anything in the condominium documents or the deed to the property that memorializes that limitation, that
Yes.
non-residential limitation?
Yeah.
That's mentioned several times. Can't be a resident.
Yes, and this was a disclosure that the board required us to put in before, right on the second page, it says each unit owner is hereby advised that each unit is subject to restrictions on use. And except as permitted in section 3.1, no unit shall be occupied in such a manner as to result in residency or domicile in the town of Lyme by any occupant thereof.
So if that's not changing, then, and that kind of answers your concern, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
Well.
And anyone
because
who
it-
buys it is gonna see that in the documents, I mean.
Right, but
you'd
then,
be
I
crazy
guess
to
my
buy it.
point is that right now the owners choose not to, not to rent it or do anything during the winter time. I just am asking, does fire and police have any concerns if the ownership changes and those owners choose to come up on the weekends and
Yeah, but that,
enjoy.
that doesn't change as a condominiumization. And
Right.
that issue is there now, right? I think. Cause somebody could do that.
Right.
Without it turning into.
They can, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna hold it up.
yeah, I think it's.
Same with fire safety, provide a letter. Does Aaron know about this?
Not that I know of.
No,
Yeah, the fire department can pump out a post pond, is that low enough?
They would have to go
Right.
up from the boat landing around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a dry hydrant at the boat landing.
They couldn't just pump right out of the pond?
Well, they'd have to get to the pond. And it's fairly shallow on that end, isn't it?
well, there's a dog there.
For a ways out, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they would have trouble in the wintertime pumping.
Breaking the ice, yeah, but these three cabins,
It's shallower than when the boat landing.
So the boat landing, there's a dry hydrant.
Yeah,
So they would pump out of the dry hydrant, that extends way out into the pond.
What does it help? Okay.
yeah.
Or I shouldn't say that, there's a channel that the water comes in.
Well, that, I know about that, but it
Should you do a condominium from a property tax impact?
it may, the town will tax each of the units as their tax parcel going forward. I
Right,
don't know if it changes the assessed value in any.
but
way.
if someone does improvements, then it probably would.
Yeah, those improvements are.
If they did a
this is a benefit to the town. We're gonna have.
Yeah,
not
Did you
just
see any
cabins.
change in the taxes?
Well, you don't wanna go there.
Okay. The short answer is yes.
Yeah. But we agree that improved cabins will have a higher value, which will generate more taxes out to the town.
right.
But that's not a result of the condominiumization, that's just a result of, or maybe you think that it's more likely that they'll be improved if they're sold.
That's above my pay grade. How's that?
Yeah, you'd have to talk, there's, I can send you the RSA that talks about how, taxation occurs with condominiums, there's a whole.
Thank you, Peter.
So we are saying that because there is no change of use, the fire safety is being waived. As well as the fire protection letter.
Yeah.
You don't seem happy.
I know. Cause I think you're getting multiple owners here and this would be a time if there is an issue. To have it flagged by fire, safety, anybody else.
As a little context, and maybe Tim remembers this discussion too, David probably does as well. But there was a lot of discussion on the 20 cabin condominium about access to the cabins. Particularly during off-season times, that access might be limited for emergency service vehicles.
Driving through 3 feet of snow.
Right, and that's why the board recognized then, and you should recognize now that. Why we're here right now doesn't give the board the opportunity to impose any different requirement. But the board did say, give your unit owners notice of limitations on those issues. So with the 20 cabin units, in addition to the disclosure about the use, there was a disclosure about some of the access issues. Here, the access issue isn't the same because we have a brand new driveway, relatively brand new driveway to these 3 units, so. But the issue had been thought of before by this board in
Yeah.
other contexts.
I mean, as an ex-firefighter, I'm looking at the access and, you have a driveway that gets you down in there.
Right.
Not very far. I've gone to several lakeside cabin fires in my career. And, sometimes it's difficult to get down to them, but you make it work.
Yeah,
That they can get fairly close. And I don't see it, going down the driveway or even staying on Route 10 for which one is it?
Lakeside.
Lakeside, yeah, I'm trying to,
Lake Field, yeah.
Lakefield. You certainly drive the first truck down the driveway and. You have all plenty of hose on the truck to get into that.
mhm,
Personally, what I would do is drop a 4-inch line at the end of the driveway going in so that you can feed from tankers or pump from.
mhm,
Right, yeah, I don't see there as none of this jumped out at me as something like, oh boy, there's no way you're gonna get, fire apparatus.
Right.
If somebody was staying and walked in the snow, yes, there would be more, it'd be a little more difficult bringing someone out who was injured. But
Yeah.
again, they rescue people up on, Smarts Mountains. It's not, there's no obstacle, I think, that is.
yeah,
Difficult to overcome.
Right. Yeah, it's so close to the road, yeah.
Right, it's so close to the road and.
so let's move on to number 12, description of existing land use in the area of the proposed subdivision and any proposed changes known to the applicant. Comment on the relationship, compatibility, and impact of the proposed subdivision on existing and proposed land use in the area.
No change, like.
We're
Yeah,
saying
I waive is no change.
waive, no change. Impact of subdivision, analysis of the proposed subdivision's direct and secondary fiscal impacts and direct and secondary impacts on population growth and school enrollment.
There's no, there are no residences being established here. It's all,
This is a lodging
it's a lodging use.
use only.
We can waive it.
So we'd waive that. Construction plans be areas to be disturbed.
Again, I would, the whole section to me is waivable as
Yeah,
no new construction.
yep. Title matters.
Title. Oh, you get the
That's
15,
the-
page 15 too.
Oh, yeah,
I would think,
I'm waiving 15, I'm thinking we would waive the performance, maintenance, security.
yes,
Then title matters, number 16,
yep, I have all the most common, the most recent deeds.
you have the recent deed, okay? All present or proposed easements. Covenants, reservations,
The only easement, which is for the Santos property, for the driveway, and we have that easement.
Right. So David, it says in there that there's an access and utility easement. Does that count for this or not? You know, where
Yeah, I see
in
the note right there on the.
or is that not?
It wouldn't count because it's just a note saying there's an easement there. We don't have we do have on file the actual easement. So if for some reason we didn't have that easement on file,
Yeah,
but because I assume it's, and I assume it's in the Santos's deed
Yes.
thing, they have
Yeah.
the right to cross.
Yeah.
That is the easement, and so we have that deed and
who's responsible for maintaining that driveway?
It's divided between the Santos's and Loch Lodge, and the operating costs then are passed on to the cabin owners on a percentage basis.
And to the chair's question earlier, I did find the easements for the water and sewer, and the common system, the condominium documents, section 5.2. I, the association and each owner shall have an easement in common with the declarant and others who operate and use any wells, water lines, septic systems in each field which are intended for a common use and may now or hereafter be located on other land of the declarant or on the common area of Loch Lodge condominium, including but not limited to any such improvement shown on the condominium site plan for Loch Lodge condominium. So that's what ties those rights over the land.
what was the section of the docs?
5.2 I.
Okay, I'll note that as.
Okay. So. Title matters A and B under 16, those are yeses.
Those are yeses.
Agency approvals.
I think those are, all not applicable. Is there no,
Okay, so David, do you get copies of the wastewater, the leach field, permits?
yes,
So do you have a copy of that then?
yes, I have a copy of the. You have two, you have an approval for construction and an approval for operation, so those
Okay.
are all filed with us.
So you have that, and then what about the water supply system?
I don't get anything from the state, it's a public water system. But that's all regulated through the state and I never see any of it.
Okay.
And again, because it's existing, the state's not going to they've already approved.
Uh-huh. And then the highway permit for driveway permit,
Again, I don't believe that, there's any change, so I don't see where the state would ask for a new driveway permit. They've already received, when the Santos is,
so did you get a copy of Santos's?
yes, when
Okay.
when the Santos put the extra driveway in, they had to update that permit, and it was updated.
Okay. Fish and game, not applicable.
Yeah.
Water Resources Board, not applicable.
Yeah.
Wetlands Board, not applicable.
Yep,
Uh,
I will. This one,
Planning.
actually, I'm not applicable either, because I won't be issuing any permits.
And the flood insurance, what do we do on that?
If I looked at all the properties and the floodplain is pretty much follows the shoreline. It does not come up to any of the buildings, so, it is out of the floodplain, so it's not applicable.
Okay. So, we've been through this checklist. So we now need to, the purpose of this checklist was to determine whether the application is complete.
Yes.
And so we are looking for a motion to accept the application as complete.
Yeah, with the waivers.
With the waivers.
But we didn't want to say something about the notes.
Yeah, the waivers in the notes, right?
Yeah, waivers and the conditions, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be the.
Dave
I had
Dave-
3 of them.
has moved,
I'll second.
give a second. All those in favor of accepting as complete, as noted, aye. No opposing. So, now I guess we have an opportunity to ask our questions.
Yes.
I'm sorry for some of you folks, I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm a relatively new chair. And so this is the first time I've gone through a big application like this. I apologize if we're going slow, but I guess we're being thorough. So, comments from folks,
I have a list from Vicky.
okay? Why don't we go
So,
through that?
the first one says the plan, does provide discrete meets and bounds information for each condo ownership, but the corners are calculated and tied to monuments a couple of 100 feet from the calculated corners. How are the owners supposed to know what they actually own and how much land they can use? And so I think,
Know that, and
I think
they only own the cabin.
they only own the cabin, but I believe you have, like the old other one, you have some area around the cabin.
Right, there's area around the cabin that is limited common area.
Right.
And by the condominium act requires the units in limited common area to be I forget what the phrase in the statute is, but essentially delineated so there is some certainty as to where those are in the ground. So you see the tie lines to the 3 cabins are connected to a rebar on the southwesterly property line.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that connects to each corner of the building envelope, if you will. So that's how unit owners would be able
Right.
to ascertain physically from the plan what their unit
Right.
entails.
So it's not a measurement off the building, because it varies. Right.
But it's within that limited common area.
So you would measure from that rebar going in a certain direction for a certain amount of distance. And then that is going to establish that first point, and then each of the 4 or each of the other 3 points are based off of that point with a
Right.
basically a bearing and a distance.
Right. Right. And there's a bearing off the rebar, yeah.
Right, so your rebar up here, you're saying you go this direction for this amount of distance, and you'll find that that's where that point will be. And then from that point, you can measure out and get
Right.
all your other.
Right.
And a practical answer to Vicky's question is, they look at that and then they say, well, who has to take care of the brush around the cabin? And can I plant a lilac bush here?
Yeah.
And that's.
I think her point was, if at the last plan, you actually had each cabin had a distance that was. And it wasn't done.
Yeah, I think
This
it was like a foot or
No, I
something.
think it was like 5 feet.
Was it 5 feet? It was like a
Yeah.
foot, yeah.
This is similar, I mean, I think that it is 5 feet from the farthest extremity on
Yes.
each side. I don't know that it was necessarily noted here.
Right, it's not noted that way, but
Dimension.
You know, I think that the issue she's having is that if someone would bought this and say, okay, what do I own? They're gonna need a surveyor to come in to tell them,
Right,
because very few people are gonna be able to
Yeah,
read the.
right, but they don't actually own it, right? They can just use it.
Right,
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
that use,
right.
Well, wait, they own everything within,
but they own the
These-
building.
They own the building.
The
that's
building,
it.
then they have exclusive rights to use everything inside
That limited,
or that limited area, saying, you know,
Okay.
you can plant a lilac bush, you can clear out the brush, you can,
right,
and it's not part of the common land that
Yeah.
everyone
yeah.
owns.
So it seems to me, somebody looking at this plan 3 years from now. Might benefit from having that actually. Delineated on each of these blow-ups is, limited common area.
Yeah, I think, it's
It's
not.
identified in the notes and it's described in the condo documents.
yeah, I was gonna say, it must be in the condo document,
Yeah, it's
I think I
required to
saw
be in
it.
the condo document.
yeah.
But again, to Vicky's point, I mean, if you're wanting to know where you can plant a lilac. Without getting into trouble with your neighbors. A picture is worth 1,000 words here. It would be helpful to have that. I think it's just a note, or excuse me, yeah, a note with an arrow. A leader with an arrow that shows that area.
Okay, so,
I think the way Horizons has shown this is perfectly acceptable. If you look at the detail at the bottom of the page, you connect to a tie line. To a corner, a calculated corner. That connects to a corner of the building, the distances are all drawn here.
No, but I mean,
think we're
that,
just
just
cluttering up
physically,
the plan.
physically calling out limited common area.
that's, yeah, let me just,
What do folks think?
well,
And
somewhere,
yeah, note,
yeah, it's in-
note 11 on the plan. Says that the limited common area surrounding a unit is appurtenant to such unit.
The limited. Includes the land. Below the lower horizontal boundary of the unit. What does that mean? Lower horizontal boundary?
It means, the, lowest point of the building itself, the building rests on some kind of,
right,
like the substructure,
Yeah.
whether it's a concrete pad or some sort of foundation. So they own to that limit down, the rest is limited common area below the surface is limited common.
right.
I don't know, it doesn't seem to me that you have to be an attorney to be able to understand this. Seems like-
See, but I've never had, I've been doing this for 30 years, I've done a lot of condominiums. And this is just the way it's done and the way it's described, and you sold several of the cabins on the other side with the exact same language, and I don't think anybody has had a question.
I do think the plan for the cabin did show the 5 foot.
We can make some changes, I'm just trying to, I don't know if I can draw this, my drawing skills, but if you can picture looking. At
You're talking
the
about the footprint basically
elevation
in the
of
building,
cabin. Here's the cabin, and here's the ground level,
right?
so everything. Here and up, from the walls up to here is the unit. And then you've got the area around it, limited common area,
Right.
and subsurface is limited common area. I don't know if that diagram.
Yeah.
Oh, so below the unit is also,
And that was done, that's not the case in every community, but here the town was concerned that if the unit contained the land below, it would be somehow more of a like a single family residence. I forget exactly what the rationale
Yeah, I don't.
was at the time.
But that was a change we made at Lyme's request.
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
And I think,
So,
let me go on to Vicky's second comment, which, the plan does not show common areas and limit common areas, that are referred to in the condo documents. It can be inferred that the limited common area is within the calculated corners, but it should be labeled on the plan, as should the common area. So I think what she would like to see is on the plan, just, a little area, a note or, and an arrow that says limited common area pointing to each of those 3 areas,
Boxes.
3 boxes, and that would,
yeah, that's what I'm asking
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I
If you
think
have
that.
have that be a condition of approval, we can make that
Yeah.
condition, the Mylar.
Okay,
cause, 2.7. Is that document, I don't know if that doesn't define the area, but it defines. There's a lot there, 2.7, don't we? It includes all
Land,
decks and porches and balconies and patios.
Yeah, I think the solution is Bill suggested as a condition that we.
yeah,
Add to the plan of. Designation of limited common area for each unit.
Yeah.
and she also is asking about the common area. That there should be a label. Yeah, it's the remainder, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, by definition,
It's
everything that's not a unit is common area.
Yeah.
So by showing the unit, you're identifying the common area.
so what part of the land across the street is the common area?
No part of the land across the street.
I think for that condominium across the street.
Oh, for the condominium.
No, for this condominium,
No part of the land across the street is the common area except for whatever easement rights go with the condominium that we just talked about, the right to connect to the well and the septic,
okay,
Cause this is
and
the
the parking. The parking.
right, cause this is a totally separate.
It's totally separate, but we have provided for those common utilities between the two.
And
condominiums.
not to confuse the matter, but remember that the Loch Lodge, everybody owns shares in it. And so you can't own the cabin unless you are an owner of the entire project. So people are buying a cabin from Loch Lodge, but they are also members, they are owners of Loch Lodge. So there's no us and them. Does that make
Right.
sense? Does that help?
Right, so. in other words,
I
if you-
didn't understand that,
Oh.
So Liz, you're saying if you buy a cabin,
Yeah,
then you automatically own a part of everything.
you can't buy a cabin unless you're already a member of it.
You are a shareholder.
Right.
Of Loch Lodge.
And meaning you have to put some money in or whatever
That's
to be a
right.
share,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's interesting.
So what was the point of condominiumizing these 3? As a-
Capitalize to all of them, capitalized improvements.
To what?
Capitalized improvements, like to the barn.
To be able to pay for the community septic system, right?
Yeah.
And all the stuff that's a very expensive infrastructure investment.
But why wouldn't they just be put into the other condominium association?
We
Because,
chose to do it separately.
right,
But when they buy a cabin, and that money that they pay for the cabin goes in to everything too, right?
it goes to Loch Line Lodge.
Goes to like one, and that can be
Which
used,
they are part owners of.
right?
Right.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
So I guess maybe that'll be a question for our attorney, because I certainly didn't understand that.
Well, it's the same attorney as last time, right?
Think so.
No, it won't be because he's left.
Oh, okay.
Who are you using now?
Well, it's still Mitchell, but,
Also, it's Laura.
it'd be Laura, yeah.
Walter's retired. Oh.
Stephen Whitley,
Whitley.
Whitley
Whitley.
was the.
Yeah.
But he had left the
Yeah.
firm.
Does she have more comments?
Yes, she is, 3 more. On the plan over here by where Horizon, it says submitted land. And she doesn't know what the term submitted land.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, that, it means the land that's submitted to the condominium, which is the entire parcel. Defined term under the condominium map.
Both.
Do we want to have that clarified?
If submitted land is defined in the condominium act, then I think that's perfectly fine.
Right,
You know, it's a,
it's the total parcel.
right, so it
It's the
means,
total parcel area.
Right.
and note 4. Back to that, note 4 of the plan mentions the use of the property being converted into condominium ownership. The use is lodging and accommodations and should be specified in this note.
Repeat that again?
It says note 4, plan mentions the use of the property being converted into condominium ownership. The use is lodging and accommodations and should be specified in this note.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it says it says no physical changes to the property or the use thereof.
And
So if it was originally lodging and accommodations, then it's
Yeah.
no change.
and section 3.1 of the condominium declaration says each unit shall be occupied and used only for lodging accommodations by the owner, his or her family, or by lessees, with the rest of the owner, or for any other use permitted by the terms of the Lyme zoning ordinance or by way of a variance or special exception thereto granted by the Lyme zoning board of adjustment. And again, that's the exact language we used.
I don't have a problem with her suggestion to add that as a note to these, to the plans.
The only reason I point out 3.1 is it contemplates a situation where the town changes its zoning and permits some other use. So I don't want to be limited necessarily to lodging accommodations by approval of this plan. I want to be limited only by what the town zoning ordinance
Right, not the
says
old, not
from
the
time
old,
to time.
yeah.
That
See,
makes,
there's 2 different.
Hmm.
If you approve this plan and it says just lodging accommodations, then we're stuck with just lodging accommodations. 10 years down the road, when the town of Lyme changes zoning ordinance to allow skyscrapers there, then we don't want to be limited to what you approve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's more
Here.
likely that they change the zoning to not allow any buildings of any.
Exactly, exactly. But that's why the language in the declaration, I think, is the correct language, because it anticipates zoning changes.
It makes sense, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the last one is, I'm uncertain from reading the declaration, who maintains the septic tank and pump stations on the side of, on this side, meaning the condo side of Route 10. The Balsam unit has its own tank and pump station. Lakeside and Lakefield share the septic tank and pump station. So is in the condo declaration, does it?
Yes, so those would be part of the common area, well, they're part of the common area except to the extent those. Specific features serve only a single unit. And if they serve a single unit, they're deemed part of that unit. So if you've got a pumping system that only serves unit one, that unit owner is responsible for the maintenance and repair of that. It wouldn't be fair to have other folks sharing.
I would think that the lodge would be responsible for that.
To the extent it share.
Well,
It's outside of the,
yeah, but I mean, doesn't the community water and
Take care of
septic
that?
take care of it?
Yeah.
So if that had to be repaired or whatever, then everyone
We
would
want to be able
share.
to do it. We don't want some person who owns it to say, I'm not gonna fix the.
Well, yes, you have the right to, you have the right to do it
Yeah.
if the unit owner
Right.
doesn't do it themselves.
And our commitment to them is that
Yes.
we will do it.
Yes.
Right, and then everyone shares that expense.
Yes,
Right,
right, got it.
yeah.
So as long as that's clear in the condo docs.
I think I would suggest that we include Vicky's questions. Or I would suggest that we probably will be sending the condo docs
Yes.
to our attorney, and we should highlight those concerns and any others that we may have.
I think that's a good suggestion. As part of your condition of approval, that those Vicky's particular questions get reviewed by town council.
Yeah, I think that was the only one that dealt with the declaration.
Yeah,
And last time, I believe that the bill was sent to Loch Lodge for that legal review up to $2,400.
something like that.
Does that sound still reasonable?
Sure. So I had a question in Article 10 under amendments. So the bylaws can be amended. The Articles 6 and 7. Can this whole document be amended by the association?
You're looking at Article 10,
Yeah, on page 43.
which is the bylaw provision.
Yeah, I mean, that can be amended, it says.
Yes,
So
and the
what about-
declaration can be amended as well,
The whole document could
the
be
whole
amended.
document.
So if all the owners got together and said, we want to make a whole new thing, they could. A whole new,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, that's correct.
I think that's true with every condo.
Right,
Yeah.
subject to the condominium act, it's in, on page 13. Of the declaration is the amendment, start of the amendment provision.
right.
One thing that it does say, and again, this is a carryover from the previous one, is no amendment shall be contrary to the terms of the Lyme zoning
You know,
ordinance.
that was my next question,
Yeah.
whether they could change it
Right,
and just say, we aren't gonna follow the lines. Okay,
good luck with that.
yeah.
No, and that's why this provision is in here to say that
Right,
we'll be bound by the Lyme zoning.
whatever it is,
Right.
right.
So, I have a bunch of questions at sign 15.
Ladies young,
We're gonna
how
continue,
far you
to-
still have to drive? How far do you have to drive?
I got an hour to do.
so
It's okay.
shall we continue on? Yeah. There was earlier discussion about the approximate leach field with a line going from the septic tank to the leach field. It seems like that should be eliminated from the drawing or noted approximate abandoned leach field or something to that note, effect?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because it's confusing.
And I'm curious what the water supply line is to that abandoned approximate leach field.
That there's a planned building.
Oh, that's,
Building.
that is against the possible relocation of an existing building. That's a future.
Right, so that was, so. The septic and water approvals had a building in that location, so that's what you're seeing is a water and wastewater service to a future building. That box is,
So what, so you want to relabel that or?
Well, it's, they could say non-existing building, not currently existing or something like that.
well, we should probably just take it off of this plan.
All right.
Because it's
I
not
would
an existing.
defer to the engineer.
We'll take it off because it isn't an existing condition currently. It was.
Yeah.
That's part of the water and wastewater.
I mean, I think it's appropriate to show your water and sewer lines so that it's memorialized and you can say not in use or for future use or something, but and the issue of parking. Since the common area is across the street across the street does not include the common area. I'm wondering where a minimum of 3 cars and a maximum of who knows how many would get parked for these 3 buildings.
So next to Balsam, there's 2 parking spots. And in the driveway coming into Balsam on the left, there's 2 parking spots. I don't know that they're marked there now, but they exist.
They're not marked.
So we can update the
So they can parallel
map,
park.
show it, there's parallel park district, and then the other one is off to the left. Before you pass the road.
Right.
So in theory, 4 cars could park there and they wouldn't even have to park on the other side of Route 10.
Yeah, you would, that's right.
I mean, they could, or they
Could,
They could
it depends
decide.
where they want or if they have, yeah, but.
So where do they park in the winter?
Cars for the 3 cabins
right,
now.
right.
Where do they park in the winter?
So
They could still park there.
the 2 parking spots immediately adjacent to Balsam are plowed. Now, I mean, just a convenient place to dump the snow. If people were to stay there, it would be easy enough to have those 2 spots plowed out as well. The 2 spots along the side of the driveway, which are not shown on your print, but that's what we would do. And then, we do plow the full, parking lot by the lodge. So there's a lot.
But there's no parking. I mean, they're not allowed. I mean, you can informally say that to us, but that's not part of the application that we're looking at.
Okay, so
So you would like to put in a condition that all 4 lots are marked.
I think I would want to see at least 4 spots there. I don't know, I mean, if people park on the grass, I don't know what this looks like, but
No, this isn't grass.
there's certainly a lot of wetlands shown there, which I don't think we would want people parking in.
I don't know, it's been there.
So,
They're not parking in the wetlands. No, they're parking, as you come in, it's on the left.
Right.
It's parallel park, they just kind of parallel park on the left of that driveway.
Mhm.
Oh, that's actually more parking. Okay.
It's right here, isn't
There's here, also, so there's a bump out here. There's a parking right here. And then also there's now parking along in here. That's pretty good.
Is that?
So that's gonna be in the wetland setback.
So who does the snow plowing? Does the, what's the person that has the right of way over this?
Santos.
Just Santos.
Santos, is Santos doing the plowing or,
And I live there.
so what's to prevent him from plowing in the parking spaces?
They're members. They're part of the.
I didn't know that.
And even though they have the right to and can do it, so can Lochline Lodge as the owner of the land which the easement crosses, so if they only plow their strip of land to get to their lot, Lochline Lodge can also go out there and widen it. Right.
Okay. Then in the exhibit B, there's discussion about the condo office. Where, I mean, this is a condo association of three, where do they have a condo office?
In
And,
in the association.
yeah,
The bylaws. The statute, the condominium statute requires us to designate in the bylaws where the office is. So we usually just say it's on site, even though it's physically not an office.
mhm,
It's just the legal place of operations for this particular condominium. Right. And as you can see, it says, or at such other places as may be designated from time to time, it's the association to be.
so have we, I mean, it seems kind of impractical to have a condo association of three.
It is, it's not. It can be complex with three, but it's done all the time.
I mean, we have, the building that Mascoma Bank is in is a 2-unit condominium.
Yeah.
Which is even worse.
Yeah, well, Ray has 4.
Ray has 4, but
Mhm,
Yeah.
so. You know, we already have in town,
yeah,
a condominium is less.
okay. I was also concerned with access to unit 1. How do, I see a walkway to get into unit 3. I presume that you go directly from the driveway to the front of unit 2. I'm curious how you get to unit
Lakeside.
unit 1.
You walk across the lawn. Wait, you're gonna have to have you come see it and I'll show you the perennial gardens.
Yeah. It feels to me like that access should be shown.
Well, there's an archway. I mean, you could draw little stepping stones.
There's, I think he's wondering if there's a direct connection from parking here to walk into there.
Oh, then you'd have to show it going over the bridge, I guess.
Right.
Well, no, so.
I mean, when somebody's, yeah, when you arrive there, where do you go? I mean, we're approving a plan here for that people are gonna be buying into and
So you could
it
just
seems like it behooves us that
show a walking path.
we need to know where they access this building from.
Yeah, but if they parked across the road, then they could walk anywhere to it, right?
Right.
I mean, they could walk anywhere.
They could, but I mean, I think it's incumbent upon us to actually provide parking for these units.
And how would they get there?
And if they're gonna designate parking spots across the road, for these units, then that should be clarified, and then again, once you're across the road, how do you get there?
Is the grass worn down to
The grass, right, we don't wanna have it worn
You
down.
don't want it that way.
Yeah.
Right, to the point, there is a split rail fence that leads to the arch, to an arch. That's directly across from the driveway where the parking area is. So the parking area is on the lodge side.
If we wanna use that parking area, and we're just, we're gonna be.
But if it's on the large side, do they, in your condo docs, do you have it? An easement for parking?
Not specifically, but.
So that's what I'm saying, if you're going to say they're going to be parking on the large side, you need to.
Yeah,
Say that they have
to
the,
have the parking on the condo, the 4 units on the condo side. On the waterfront side designated for those people, and then you can draw a little map, they walk across the bridge, and then we can put out a couple markers where they can walk. I mean, they can walk anywhere, because it's common, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is, this is an existing seasonal cottage situation, and this is how it's been used historically forever, right? And we're not changing that use, is what we're getting at.
Well, yeah, but you're changing the ownership, and you're gonna have 3 different owners, so, you no longer have control of that. I mean, we're reviewing this as if it's new. Yes, it's an existing building, but the ownership is new, and somebody presumably is getting this plan, and they're gonna say, oh, yeah, well, I walk in this way, or I don't walk in this way. And so it seems like it should be shown.
I'll leave that to you guys,
I mean, if we can show a dotted line across the lawn, I mean, I think that that's what it is, it's basically from the.
Yeah,
from the
that's
main
all.
Parking lot.
Um, and then I think, the question that came up earlier about trash, that should be addressed somewhere.
And in addition to one of the condo documents.
I don't think you showed that it was in the condo documents, other than you can't keep your place in a trashy condition.
Right.
I think we had talked about adding a general.
I mean, we could put a note on the plan that,
I think it's a note just saying.
yeah, David had some language.
Yeah,
The note that said that, trash is removed.
the staff
By
pickup.
staff.
Yeah.
Right, I had written down, trash and recycling is collected by staff and properly disposed of.
And it's not the staff of this condo association, it's the staff of the
Hospitality business.
Lyme, Loch Lyme Lodge Association.
Yeah, I mean, we could say Declan, has to be removed by Declan, because that's Loch Line Law change.
Oh, there you go.
Declan.
Yeah,
By Declan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
any other question?
Just some minor thing. I wasn't sure what approximate force main, that's the water line, force main?
That's
That'd be the.
That's the wastewater, the septic.
Oh, okay, okay, I just wasn't, yeah, I just.
Figured, I know. It's cool content, so I can say.
So, I would suggest that we continue this hearing and, allow our attorney to take a look at the condo documents. And that, we get, yeah, and that we do that.
I would request that you approve the subject to a condition that you have.
That was what was done last time.
Yeah.
And so basically the condition, all the changes will be made to the plans. And then what'll happen is they'll get submitted back, this will get submitted back, 3 copies, 2 paper, 1 Mylar. You will, when you get back from the attorneys, a yay or nay, we'll check and make sure that all the changes have been made on the plans, and then you sign off on the plans.
So if the attorneys have any issues or wanna change anything, then what? Then they.
Then we say no, this condition is not satisfied.
Right,
and
it's
we-
condition is satisfied, you don't sign it,
And
and
need additional.
And then we, yeah,
work
so
through.
another meeting and just change it.
If we need another meeting, or, you know,
Right, right, if council comes back and says, no, this doesn't address the concerns that were brought up at the meeting, we'll come back.
Yeah.
Reopen the public hearing and come back.
Does that sound like a reasonable thing?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
So, I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move that we
reviewed them
accept.
last,
What?
review minutes of the last meeting.
Well, I think we need a motion.
you need a
to-
motion to
We have to
approve
vote.
the plan subject to the
Yeah, I'll move,
conditions.
Oh.
I'll move that we approve it.
I accept the motion to adjourn too.
Wait a minute. So I'll move that we accept, approve this with conditions, yeah. Second.
Okay. And so you'll get the conditions
I
back.
need to do a vote.
Okay, we'll do a vote. So all those in favor, say aye.
I will write up all the conditions, what I'll do is a notice of decision that I normally
Okay,
do, and, then you won't sign off on that until, oh no, you sign the notice of decision. You won't sign off on the plans until all the conditions in the notice are met.
yeah.
That'll do that, make sure everyone's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Strongly appreciate it.
Well, I guess I would suggest we do the minutes next. Is there any reason we can't do the minutes next time?
You can do it next time, yes.
You know why? This is the.
I think we should have a motion to go away. Thank you, David.
Thank you all. Thank you.
My name tag on, so you have your name tag on?